So I asked Rare to give us private islands that we could build our own houses on. Not gonna lie, a little disappointed. 3 out of 10. Hey, what is up everyone? In today's video, we're talking about everything you need to know about Siren Treasuries and Sea of Thieves. The Siren Treasuries are probably my favorite thing added in the Season 4 update, and actually probably my favorite thing Sea of Thieves has done all year. With that being said, it can be intimidating to players, and I hope this guide can help prepare you for taking on the treasuries. So first, let's talk about where to find these treasuries. There are 3 of them currently in the game, 1 in each of the main regions. However, only 2 of them I would recommend going to, Treasury of Sunken Shores and Treasury of Secret Wilds. The third one, the Treasury of Lost Ancients, is nice, but it's so close to the middle of the map, meaning you're more likely to be attacked by players while you're down below fighting. Obviously this wouldn't be good because you'd come back up top and then your ship would be gone and you wouldn't be able to take your treasure to any outpost to sell. The only time I'd recommend using this treasury is if you're going to do Reaper's Bones Emissary because of how close that is to Reaper's hideout. But even then it's still a bit of a risk. The Sunken Shores and Secret Wilds treasuries are close to the top of the map, meaning most players will probably not be near you, and you can swim down to the treasury and not be worried about being attacked. This is important because you will want to have an emissary while doing these treasuries. Now on the topic of which emissary you should choose, honestly it doesn't matter. The treasury vaults have mostly siren gems and then a small amount of loot from each of the trading companies. Obviously the emissary that will get you the most reward is Reaper's Bones, however this shows your position on the map and will probably not be good for most players. In my experience, using one of the other emissaries will get you to grade 3 from doing the treasury. If you have time, I'd recommend doing the treasury a second time and then you could get to grade 5 and have that max reward. Like I said before, it really doesn't matter which emissary you choose, so I'd just go whichever one that you want to get your emissary ledger up for that particular month. Currently for me, I've been doing gold hoarders a lot just so I can get that up and get those rewards at the end of the month. Next, we're going to talk about how to change the speed of aiming your Trident. So the way to do this is to go into Game Options, Settings, Gameplay, then go all the way down until you see the Trident. You can do it for the mouse one, if you play keyboard mouse. There's also a controller down here. It's the last sensitivity control. Now, for some reason mine reset. I had mine set at 9. You're going to have to figure out what works for you. I like to be able to move it fast, especially because when you're holding down the trigger and aiming, it makes your Trident move very slow if you have it on default. And if you want to have it charged up while in the treasury fighting, it's really good to have it so you can move this quickly to hit the sirens easily. Alright, next let's talk about what to do when you get to the treasury. Similar to shrines, if you've done those, when you swim down underwater, you'll see it at the bottom. Swim down to it and you may have to hit one of the pink corals to enter the treasury. Once inside, you'll see some barrels and tridents on the ground. Check the barrels and supply up, get some better food if possible, then prepare yourself for battle. To start, you'll need to shoot the pink coral inside the treasury to be able to enter the main chamber. The main chamber is where all the waves of enemies will be that you'll fight. Before you go in though, be sure to grab a trident. Next, let's talk about the different enemies you'll be facing and how to combat them. Sirens are probably the hardest enemies to fight in Sea of Thieves. While fighting in the treasury, the tridents will be essential in taking them down. Of course, you can fight them without the trident, but it will be much more difficult. So when fighting with the trident, you can hold the trigger to charge the trident. There are 3 levels of charge that it can have, and you can tell which level it is by how big the energy orb is. The regular sirens will only take 2 levels of charge, and the siren leaders will take the max amount of charge, which is the 3rd level. The way to distinguish between the siren leaders and the regular sirens are the siren leaders have crowns on their head. So whenever you see the ones with the crowns on their head, you want to make sure you charge up your trident all the way to the max. Let's say you don't have a trident though. The best way to fight these is to shoot them at a distance while they're healing up, and then when they're close to you, try to do a sword lunge into them, or if you have a blunderbuss, try to blunderbuss them when they get close to you. Another good thing to use is blunder bombs on them. You can throw the blunder bomb and that will do a lot of damage if you hit them directly. Next, the ocean crawlers. These you can fight in many ways, but here are some of the things I would try. The giant ocean crawler brutes, you can use the gunpowder kegs scattered around the room to defeat them. The Tridents are also a good way to defeat them, but if you'd rather fight them using your own weapons, I'd recommend doing a sword lunge where you can jump through the brute and damage them. If you jump through them, it'll do damage to it, but it'll keep you far enough away after you land from your sword lunge that you won't get hurt from their ground pound. The brute's main attack is doing a giant smash into the ground and anything around it will be damaged. So while the sword lunge will get you far enough away that you won't get too hurt, you might still take damage if you didn't land too far from him. The best way to do the sword lunge through him is have the brute face you and then sword lunge so that when you sword lunge through him, his back is behind you while you're sword lunging through him. That way when he does his ground pound, he'll already be going in the direction away from you, not towards you. Next we have the Clam ocean crawlers. These ones are really annoying. They have a running charge attack and a poison area of effect. Like all the other enemies, you can use the Trident on it, but I'd recommend waiting for their charge attack to finish and then they're kind of like stunned for a second and you go behind them and just start slashing them with a sword or maybe using a blunderbuss or something to attack them. This is usually the easiest way I've found to do it, but a Trident, if you're in the Treasury, will work a lot better too. The eel ocean crawlers, you have to attack from far away. If you attack them close up, you'll be zapped by their electricity when you hit them. When you see the eel charging up, shoot it to stop their attack, and it will make it shock itself. And if they're close to any other enemies, it will also shock them. Usually you don't really need a Trident to take these down. I would say if you have a pistol or a sniper, you can do this pretty easily just by waiting for them to start charging up and then shooting them. However, in the Treasury, when you're fighting a lot of different enemies, it might be better to just use the Trident to take them out quickly. The next group of enemies we have are the coral skeletons. These are basically just normal skeletons with some coral on them. They do have a different sound when you hit them, and it sounds similar to the gold skeletons, but they're not as hard to defeat as the gold skeletons are. These you can usually take down with a few swings of the sword, and basically have the same amount of health as a regular skeleton has. These ones aren't too hard to fight, and should be a piece of cake for anyone. The last enemy you'll encounter in the Treasury is the Gunpowder coral skeletons. These are the easiest and most fun to defeat in my opinion. The key to fighting these enemies is put enough distance between you and them so that you can avoid the explosion from the gunpowder keg. And then all you have to do is take a pistol or a sniper and just shoot the keg from across the room and watch the chain reaction of explosion happen. The only difficult thing is if you take too long to shoot them, more of them will pop up in the room, and then there will be so many that you can't get enough distance between you and the gunpowder kegs to avoid getting killed. So you want to make sure that when this wave starts, you start shooting at them quickly. You can expect one of these groups of enemies to spawn when you hear a horn sound off, indicating a new wave has begun. On the last wave you will fight the Treasury Vault Master, which defeating it will unlock the Vault. The Vault Master has extra health, so I'd recommend fighting the other enemies first, then focusing on the Vault Master, because when you're fighting the Vault Master, you still have to complete the whole wave of enemies. You can't just kill the Vault Master and then that kills everyone else. It doesn't work that way. After you defeat all the enemies though, the vault door will open and you can head inside and load up your treasure into the mermaid statue. Once you're done, head back to your ship and collect your loot from the mermaid. And then you're good. If I were to recommend an outpost to go to, I'd say either Sanctuary Outpost or Galleon's Grave Outpost. Both of those are pretty good ones and are near the treasuries somewhat. Obviously Daggertooth is closer to one of the treasuries, but that one's so big I wouldn't recommend going to it. So there's actually a special cosmetic you can unlock from completing all 3 treasuries, and that's the Scar of Sunken Sorrow. All you have to do is complete all 3 treasuries and then you get this interesting scar. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's definitely got a bit of an interesting look to it. You can see it on my pirate now. The tattoos aren't included with it, it's just the pink scarring that you see. So if you're someone that likes to collect everything in the game, make sure to do all 3 treasuries so you can get this. But that's everything you need to know about the Siren Treasuries. I hope this video was very informative and helped you learn how to take these better. Maybe even if you've had done the treasuries before, maybe you learned something new in this video. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, it'd be great if you left a like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye y'all.